Welcome, friends. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then I shall tell you the tale of a family's fateful journey that began on what seemed to be an ordinary April morning in Naples, Florida. Naples, with its pristine beaches and wealthy retirement communities, sits like a jewel on Florida's Paradise Coast. Known for its spectacular sunsets and private aviation culture, it's a place where the line between luxury and leisure blurs seamlessly. The small executive airport, surrounded by palm trees and manicured lawns, serves as a gateway for countless private flights to the Caribbean. It was here that Peter Matthews, an experienced private pilot, stood performing his pre-flight checks on his pride and joy, a gleaming white Cessna 182 amphib. The morning air was crisp, carrying that distinctive salt-tinged breeze that whispers of adventures to come. His wife Jane, always the organized one, was loading their weekend bags while their sons, Sam and James, aged 14 and 12, bounced with excitement about their upcoming Bahamas getaway. The sun had barely kissed the horizon when Peter completed his walk-around. Everything was perfect. Fuel tanks topped off, weather reports clear, flight plan filed. The boys clambered into the back seats, already immersed in their mobile phones, while Jane settled into the co-pilot's seat, her blonde hair neatly tucked beneath her favorite sun hat. As they taxied down the runway, the first rays of sunlight painted the sky in hues of pink and gold. The takeoff was smooth, and soon they were climbing through 3,000 feet, the Florida coastline becoming a distant ribbon behind them. The waters below sparkled like scattered diamonds, and the family chatted excitedly about their plans for the weekend. 2 hours into the flight, the first anomaly appeared. The radio, which had been quietly broadcasting routine traffic, began to crackle with strange interference. At first, it was just static, but then, voices. Not the clear, professional tones of air traffic control, but something else, something wrong. "Daddy, my phone's acting weird," Sam called from the back seat. James's phone screen had gone black despite being fully charged. Peter felt a chill run down his spine that had nothing to do with the cabin temperature. The sky ahead began to change. What had been crystal clear visibility now showed unusual cloud formations, dark, roiling masses that seemed to move against the wind. Peter checked his instruments, then checked them again. According to all reports, there should have been nothing but clear skies for hundreds of miles. Jane's hand touched his arm. "Peter, maybe we should turn back." Her voice trembled slightly. Peter glanced behind them, his heart sinking at the wall of darkness that had materialized there. Turn back? There was nowhere to turn back to. The fog came suddenly, enveloping the small aircraft in a thick gray soup. It wasn't like any fog Peter had seen in his 20 years of flying. It seemed to writhe and pulse with a life of its own. He tried to climb above it, but the ceiling appeared endless. "Dad!" James's voice cracked with fear. "There's something out there, in the fog!" Sam pressed his face against the window, then recoiled sharply. "I saw it too! Something's moving out there!" Jane tried to calm the boys, but her words died in her throat as the instruments began to fail one by one. The altimeter spun wildly, the compass rotated in impossible directions, and the radio now emitted a sound that made their teeth ache, like distant screaming mixed with static. Peter fought to maintain control as he felt the aircraft dropping, but without functioning instruments, he was flying blind. The last thing he remembered was the fog parting for a split second, revealing the ocean rushing up to meet them at a terrifying angle, and his family's screams mixing with that awful radio static. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on a beach. The sun shone brightly overhead, the water lapped gently at the shore, and a wall of that unnatural fog loomed on the horizon like a waiting beast. His clothes were dry, as if he'd never hit the water. "Jane! Sam! James!" His voice echoed across the empty beach. Then he saw them, 3 figures lying in the distance. He ran, his feet slipping in the sand, but no matter how fast or how far he ran, they remained the same distance away, like a cruel mirage. The walkie-talkie caught his eye, half buried in the sand. When he switched it on, voices poured out, dozens of them, overlapping, pleading for help, lost in the fog. Some of the transmissions sounded decades old, filled with the distinctive crackle of aged radio equipment. That's when he saw the fishermen. Standing near the water's edge, the figure wore clothing from another century. A heavy wool peacoat, weathered and torn, with brass buttons turned green with age. As Peter approached, the figure's flesh seemed to melt away, revealing a ghostly visage that glowed with an otherworldly phosphorescence. "Will you give your soul to save your family?" The specter's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, carrying the sound of rushing water and splintering wood. Peter didn't hesitate. "Yes," he said firmly. "Take it. Just give them back to me." The specter's laugh was like waves crashing against rocks. "Oh, but Peter, don't you understand? You already did. Every pilot who crosses these waters makes the same choice. Your soul was mine the moment you chose to continue into the fog." The figure gestured toward the three distant bodies on the beach. As Peter watched in horror, they began to move, rising jerkily like marionettes on invisible strings. But when they turned to face him, their features were wrong, distorted and aged, as if they'd been underwater for years. "Welcome to the Triangle," the specter whispered. "You'll have an eternity to search for your real family among the lost souls here. They're somewhere in the fog, always in the fog." The sun dimmed as the wall of fog began rolling in from the horizon. As it engulfed him, Peter could hear his family's voices calling from every direction, mixed with countless others, an eternal chorus of the lost. He realized with growing horror that this beach, this moment, would repeat forever. He would eternally chase those three figures, eternally make his choice, eternally search through the fog for his real family among the thousands of souls lost to these waters. And somewhere, in the real world, another pilot would hear strange voices on their radio, warning them to turn back, Peter's voice among them, before the fog rolled in, continuing the cycle of the damned.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.